Welcome back trackside here, and when the Victorian Historic Racing Register returned the Thunder, I'm pretty sure someone was looking out of the corner of their eye at historic touring cars. But I tell you what, in qualifying trim in the wet, the cars that make the Thunder have been just a little bit gazumped by the ones that can apply their power nicely. So we're seeing a little bit of a mix-up in qualifying. I'm Darren Smith. Don't be confused with the legend that has just walked into the booth here with me, Darren Knight. All things.
Calm down, Darren.
All things historic. He's living up to his grumpy moniker. No, lovely bloke. Just so much to learn from you about this style of racing, Darren. And always, as I said, Return of Thunder, it's got to be secretly about these guys, doesn't it?
Certainly does, Darren. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone here at the circuit, undercover in the grandstand. Make sure you come down, folks, if you're local, because there is no charge whatsoever to sit in comfort at the grandstand here at Sandown Raceway for the Return of the Thunder. And good afternoon, everyone also watching on the VH Sleuth YouTube channel. The first race of the weekend for historic touring cars. Massive field, Darren. We saw a huge two-car grid at the Bend Classic only 2 weeks ago. But nevertheless, a great entry here only 2 weeks later for Sandown Historics. It really is an absolute privilege to race here at Sandown, this historic racing circuit. And some of these models of cars really made a name for Sandown and their drivers over the years, Darren.
They certainly have, and it really is a great turnout. 34 cars fronted up here this weekend. I'm actually here to see this car, surprisingly, car number 43, Pete Muehlman, do a tremendous job. A little bit outclassed, a little bit of CC capacity up around him, but he works very, very hard at getting it right, starting out at position number 12. Out of pole position. Not a surprise there, although be it in the wet, still did a tremendous job. Aldo Pioli in the Camaro. Trevor Talbot will be right alongside with Andrew Baird and Les Walmsley. Great run.
How's
for
that,
Les.
Darren? Les Walmsley in a Cortina GT. Yep. It's not even a twin cam. There is number 99, the two-door white Cortina. Fourth quickest in qualifying. Absolutely amazing performance from Les Walmsley in the wet. Absolute demon. Set that lap on his second lap. Most of the other guys were doing their quick laps, 6 or 7 laps in. His second lap out there, he came out behind Aldo De Paul in the Camaro. The Camaro didn't get away from him. Absolutely amazing performance from Les.
And what is more interesting as well is just out in the field with him as well will be a couple of other of these little Lotus type Cortinas as well. So we'll just run through them quickly. Mike Michelli, of course, in the number 69 fastback Mustang. Darren Jones, John Harrison, Scott Pearce, Kim Sheeran. And so John Harrison in one of the Cortinas just off the other side of the track there as well, as is there we go. Yep, there it is. There they are, the two Cortinas there as well. And there's Pete Muehlman in the number 43 Mustang. Ian Mewett, Ben Wilkinson, Richard Hill, Jeff Mundy, right down there in 16th, the guy that runs at the front of the field in historic touring cars in the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships. Phil Barrow, David Brown in the Datsun down there. Steve McKay, Don Knight out of position number 20. Chris Finlayson, Bill Trengove out of 22. That's a long way down for Bill to be. Dave Roberts, Michael George. Great to see Michael out there in the number 63. Fantastic to have him in the field as they continue to line up. And we look back, Jeff Pike, Max McKay, Stuart Barnes, and we are away.
Good start from Andrew Beard off the second run of the grid in the silver Camaro. He will get in front of our pole sitter, Aldo De Paoli. Look at the start from Beard. That silver and black Camaro has rounded up Talbot and De Paoli, who really took it easy off the line. Daniel Van Strockham also a great start in his dearly missed late father's yellow and black Ford Mustang. His first meeting behind the wheel of the Ford there. He's right behind the yellow Camaro of Trevor Talbot. Just the car getting squirrely in that big puddle there as they head down to turn 2 for the first time.
Have a look at that. Les Walmsley grabbed second gear and drove up into second position. It wasn't until the cars as the 69 of Michelli goes very sideways, but Les, unfortunately, by the time he'd got the third gear and everyone else had selected third, just nothing short of cubic inches. It's not called the home of horsepower for nothing when you've got that big run down to turn one. But Les will stick the nose in. You won't miss him. You'll see the white nose of that Cortina all race long, having a red hot go. Side by side at the top of the hill, you've got the Ford and the Chevy.
Michael Michelli up into third place, gets around the Camaro of Trevor Talbot down into the Dandenong Road S's for the first time. So good move there from Michelli. Van Strockham in fifth behind Talbot. Talbot on screen now, the number 76, 68 model Chevy Camaro. So a few generations of the Camaros out there. Our race leader now is DePaul. He's got past Andrew Beard. We're just waiting for him to come back into view. There's Michelli in third in the Mustang. Yes, DePaul into the lead. Andrew Beard back to second.
Just watching in the back of shot there, we got a good look at Joe Collegia as well. Joe should be in tune with the conditions. There he is in the orange and black striped entry. He should be used to the conditions. He was out in his big block Corvette in Group S earlier, so let's keep an eye out for Joe Collegia, the guy from Apex Steel, one of the great contributing partners here this weekend and indeed across the historic racing scene here in Victoria. But out in front now, the 196 of Aldo Di Pioli, just absolutely driving the wheels off it. Great start from Andrew Baird in the 86 car there. And this is two of the General's products really doing a terrific job. But look who is ranging behind him, a guy that knows almost more than everyone. Aldo Pioli
on the back straight sideways,
snaking his way around turn 5. You gotta love that, Daz.
I think they call that a sphincter moment, don't they?
Oh, yeah, but keeping into it.
No fear from the West Australian. Look at him through the Dandenong Road S's. Had a great run at the Bend a couple of weeks ago. I was looking at the man in second place, Andrew Beard. So Beard is behind him, but Aldo had a great run at the Bend Classic a couple of weeks ago. Was a win and 3 second places. And he's continuing on that strong form now. So Chev Camaro 1-2 with Michelli in the Ford right behind them.
What is it with Western Australian Camaro drivers and cranking it sideways? Paul Stubber, famous for doing that as well. I guess when you've done a lot of your racing against Paul Stubber, you can drag some of those habits into your driving, can't you? Osmosis. And turn it on and off as you like.
Osmosis, I think.
Yeah.
So 350 Chevs under the bonnet for the Camaros. 302 Boss for Michael Michelli, the man in third place at the moment. 2 engine configurations you can run with the 69 Fastback in Group N. 351 Windsor is by far the more populous of the powerhouses for the Ford, but Michael Michelli's stuck to the traditional 302 Boss for his number 69 machine. Here's Trevor Talbot, the man in fourth place in his early model Chevy Camaro.
Ooh, look at this, Joe Collegia under pressure now, the charging number 68, and that is coming through. That's Chef Mundy coming through from 16th, so he is absolutely pushing for it.
And Mewett, the Queenslander, puts a move on Joe Collegia down into turn 2 and gets that place. So Mewett coming through the order after starting fairly back down through the order than what he's usually used to in these wet conditions. Quite unfamiliar for the Queenslanders. But he's coming through the order now, just rounding up Collegia on that lap.
Have a look at this. These Cortinas, they've got their class their own in these very, very trying conditions indeed. Les Walmsley started on the front row now, second row now into 7th place.
John Harrison in the purple machine, number 89, has got through on Les Walmsley. So a very good battle developing here between the two pushrod powered Cortinas of Harrison and Walmsley.
So these aren't overhead cam ones. Okay, wow. That's even more credit to these two, isn't it?
Yep, the old trusty pushrod 1598, so almost 1600 cc's, and they're starting to put the pressure on Darren Jones in the Ford Mustang. The GT's a little bit less peaky power delivery compared to the twin cam Cortinas, which can be a bit of a handful on the wet circuits.
Great shot there, right back down through the straight. Some of the main contenders. You can really look right down through the top 20 and pick a race winner from any one of them here this weekend. It's a really classy field, experienced field of race drivers. Pete Muellerman now up into 6th place in the NB car number 43. That's the black roof just disappearing out of shot at turn 4. Good look at Les Walmsley. A mini in the mix there. A couple of minis. They would like to see the rain absolutely teeming down, wouldn't they?
Yes, Steve McKay in the yellow Coupe S there in front of the Mustang of Ben Wilkinson and the earlier model Mustang of Bill Trengrove. I think he might be grit limited here, Ben Wilkinson. Of course, took some victories here at the corresponding meeting last year in much drier conditions. So pretty certain Benny is running the drier tyre now as he's fighting for grip in the silver machine number 189.
Just looking for where Stephen McKay is in the field. He's not in the top 10. Just looking to try and get off glean off our timing screen where 16th. Okay, so that's going well with Bill Trengove in behind. There's the 68 of Jeff Mundy. He's pushing very, very hard indeed. Now inside the top 10. Started 16th. Can be tricky, even though you do have the more horsepower underneath you in these conditions to use it to great advantage. We're just getting a good look at Joe Collegia in the number 44. Magnificently prepared car.
Yeah, a car originally built by Perry Spirides. Joe purchased it some years ago now, and initially was putting a few drivers in that car when he was driving his Corvette. David Reynolds raced it a couple of times, Phillip Island, and also at Winton. And now it's good to see Joe behind the wheel of his own car.
Did John Bowe drive this one at one stage?
I think you're correct, Darren.
He might have.
Yep. John will drive anything. Though.
And has acted as a driving coach for Joe Collegiate for quite some time as well. So that would certainly make sense. Good look at the number 21, and that's Pierce out there, currently sitting in 12th position. Started out of 10th, Scotty did, but just gone back a couple of spots, and I would suggest that Mundy coming through has helped that as well. A fair bit more experience on board.
Yeah, Scott Pearce, a newcomer to the category, still running the P plates. So with racing rules, of course, you have to compete a number of meetings before you get signed off. Then you're allowed to take those P plates off. Chris Finlayson, the number 6 Cooper S. He's a great battle between Phil Barrow in the FJ Holden, Don Knight in the Cortina. And there's nothing more that Phil likes than beating Cortinas, Darren. He just absolutely loves it.
Well, there's a decade or two between them as well. So the racing here, Eddie Dobbs springs to mind in his many years of driving that sort of similar shape. I think FE that Eddie Dobbs drove there as well. And big shout out to Eddie. I know he'll be watching if he's not here at the track. Still loves to see the Group N race cars go around, or even right back to the Appendix J, which is what this car would be representative.
Certainly would. Barrow continues to lead Knight, Finlayson, Rob Burns and his Camaro well down the order, very young in its driving, with Burnsy behind the wheel, still developing that car. As our race leader on screen, Aldo De Paoli in the Camaro, so it's still a Camaro 1-2. Looks like Daniel Van Stockham has had an issue. He's dropping down the order, unfortunately, in his Mustang.
Aldo De Paoli doing a tremendous job as we get a good look at the 196 Chargers underneath the Penrite Oils sign. Great to have Penrite on board with the VHRR for 2026 as well as here this weekend.
Michael Michelli now getting very close to our second place man, Andrew Beard, and that battle for second behind our race leader, De Paoli. There they are on screen. Beard, the silver Camaro, Michelli in the blue Mustang right on his tail.
Got one lap to do it. Last lap board now being displayed at the Crow's Nest. And the entire field acknowledging that. Aldo De Paoli has a bit of a look in the mirror there as well, just leaning across to make sure he's getting a full wide shot of the Camaro and the Mustang behind you here. But Michelli just done the fastest lap in the race, a 1:38. Sorry, not just on lap 3. He is the fastest car on track as well, a 1:38.23. A good 2 seconds faster than Andrew Baird in that car in front. One thing to catch And the 86 catches it, but I was going to say...
right on cue, Darren.
Yeah, thank you very much, Betty. I'll thank you for that one later on. But one thing to catch the car in front, and on the last lap, it's another thing to sneak on through, isn't it?
It certainly is. Here they are onto the back straight for the final time.
They got a bit of traffic too. In fact, they could catch some of these cars in the closing couple of corners around probably turns 10 and 11. Michelli goes wide.
On the outside, if you don't mind, Michael Michelli in the Mustang rounds up Andrew Beard up over the rise down into Dandenong Road corner for the final time.
Blue flags being waved frantically there by the officials to let them know that the late race leaders are on them. And this could change position again as we watch Michelli and Baird start to carve their way through some of these cars. Good mind to get out of the way there, but...
they're mixed up in their own battles, of course.
They? Yeah, absolutely. Got to find your way through, but try and do it safely. Aldo Pioli celebrates early, cracks it out sideways. Thumb out the window to Paul Stubber saying, you should have been over here with me, mate.
And Michelli will just get home in front of Andrew Beard. They went either side of Chris Finlayson's Cooper S.
0.05 of a second at the end of the day between those two. But Michelli just does it over Baird. What a ripping start that Baird got, though. That was what set him up. It was Michelli's dogged determination, skill and ability, and years of experience that helped him through in the end. But a terrific drive there. Aldo Pioli, 3.2 seconds clear of Michael Michelli in the end. I guess the good thing about Michelli and Baird in that battle is that they'll pull their helmets off. Yes, they'll be dripping in sweat, but they'll have a smile.
They will. Michael will have a word. He talks as fast as he drives. Michael Michelli, one of the real characters of the pits, and haven't seen him that often this year. In fact, he had his first run at Winton for many, many years, the Winton Festival of Speed. So good to see Michelli having a very strong run here into second place. A bit of damage to the front of the Harrison Cortina too, Darren. Yeah, there you go. We don't often see that in historic touring cars. One of the, I guess, the unwritten laws, Darren, is don't hit anyone. They're too expensive to fix, and sometimes you can't even find the fix part to fix it. That is very true. Let's have a look how our field rounded it out. Pioli in P1, Michelli, Baird, Talbot. Pete Mullerman home, got a couple of spots in the number 43 into position number 5. Jones, Harrison, Walmsley. Les eventually home there in 8th spot. Mewett and Monday rounding out the top 10 to Pierce, Collegia, Shern, Hill. Yeah, Richard Hill, the quickest of the minis. That's no surprise. One of the quickest minis in the country, the green machine number 12. And Stupka there in the Peugeot as well. We didn't see that one. Citroen, sorry, through the race. Always good. He has been the competitor in the oddball. Well, not oddball. Something different. Weird. He had the imp. Weird. Yeah, weird. The Citroen out of the French Touring Car Championship, of course, back in the day. Great to see the return of the Thunder and the group ends. I say that, and we're looking at a couple of little four-pot minis there as well. They can be thunderous. And when you actually look at the lap times, they're not hanging about either. Darren, thank you so much for bringing your Thunder and your knowledge to the call here today. The group ends, of course, or the historic touring cars will be on at 12:30 tomorrow, and then again at 4:50. So you can have a sleep in, mate. Can I, please? Also, don't forget the 100-year celebration, the 100-year anniversary of Ford Australia, a special all-Ford race, and we'll see a lot of these cars we've just seen in historic touring cars join Ian Ross's XD Falcon, Terry Lawler's beautiful Group S GT350 Shelby, so it'll be great. And of course, Chris Jackson too, in one of my favourite cars out here, the Pantera. So a Ford-powered machine, so that will certainly be great. That's around about 1 p.m. tomorrow. Yeah, 1:25. 1:25. Daz, thank you so much. We'll see you again tomorrow for, well, as I said, you can have a sleep in. 12:30 is your first call. Lovely. Well,
you deserve it.
Don't forget, folks, if you are local, come down to Sandown tomorrow. There's less than 1 mil of rain forecast, which will be great because my boots are wet.
Yes.
And they're going to be wet for some time. But dry conditions forecast for tomorrow. You do not have to pay to go into the pits and talk to the drivers and abuse the commentators. You can come in for free. You don't have to pay to get in the grandstand either.
We offer the service to abuse commentators for free, do we? I'm going to put an invoice value on that.
People don't need an invitation as far as I'm concerned. They're quite often frequent with their advice. So come down to Sandown tomorrow, $50 to get in. You can sit in the grandstand, come down to the pits. But if you can't be here, of course, we'll be on the V8 Sleuth YouTube channel.
I certainly recommend you come down here. It's better in all dimensions, and certainly the grandstand is awesome here. You can see the whole track and enjoy a full day. Talking about awesome and seeing the full track, we've got one race to go, and it'll be the HQs. I reckon this is the ideal curtain closer. The HQs. Affordable racing will be on track in just a couple of moments. Welcome back trackside here at Historic Sandown, and of course the Historic Touring Cars brought us to us by Photography Group, and these cars making their way around. And as I left the track last night in the pouring rain, it was almost the entire Historic touring car field that were still here working very, very hard to maintain these very fast and old touring cars. It is obviously hard work because literally the teams were there doing all of their preparation for this morning. Darren Knight has joined me, warming up in the background there, and Daz, it does keep a fair team busy to keep these historic touring cars on track, doesn't it?
Certainly does. G'day Darren, g'day everyone at the track, g'day everyone tuning into the V8 Sleuth coverage on YouTube of the Equity One Historic Sandown for 2025. A great race yesterday in very trying conditions. Amazing how we didn't see anyone into the fence from this group. Rained all day here at Sandown, and it was pretty cold by the end of the day, let me tell you, Darren, but there's certainly some great driving. Everyone behaved themselves. Very little in the way of panel damage. In fact, the only damage we saw was between the two Cortinas on screen, actually. The purple Cortina of John Harrison and Les Wormsley. They had a really ding-dong struggle. Unfortunately, a little bit of panel contact. Nothing too serious, but and obviously nothing untoward either. Just one of those racing incidents slipping off the slippery curbs here. But much drier conditions today. A few puddles here and there, but that track is really starting to dry out. And look out for the V8s coming through the field. A great win yesterday to the West Australian, Aldo De Paoli in the Camaro. He held off the Pursuers, who were led by Michael Michelli. So a Mustang and a Camaro on the front row of the grid. Michelli, a great drive into second place in the number 69 Boss 302 powered Ford Mustang. He passed Andrew Beard, who had a fantastic start in his 69 model Chevy Camaro. A great battle between those two all race long. Talking about guys coming through the field, keep an eye on Daniel Van Stockram in the yellow Mustang number 17. He had a pin break from the dizzy drive in his Ford yesterday. That car is fixed and he'll be starting right at the back of the grid. A little bit further down too also is Ben Wilkinson in the silver 68 model Ford Mustang number 189. He took victories here at the corresponding meeting last year, and he's starting all the way down in 18th. So keep an eye on Benny. He only had dry weather tyres yesterday, so was just tiptoeing around, keeping the car off the fence. So he will be loving this dry condition today.
Have a look at these magnificent machines shining in the beautiful blue sunny sky here at Sandown International this afternoon, and we are just about set for the return of the Thunder, and the historic touring cars will do it in spades. A massive field of cars here, 33 cars on track here, and as I said, they are all presented magnificently. We've got a decent old hold on the line here to get these cars up and going, and these certainly these Mustangs and the Camaros won't enjoy sitting here for so long. Keep an eye on the second row of the grid, as Darren said. That's
Trevor.
a bad car.
Yeah, Trevor Talbot. So all Camaros second row. Trevor Talbot, the yellow and black machine, alongside Andrew Beard in the silver 69 model Chevy Camaro. Then it's Pete Muhlman, the all-black Mustang number 43. That's an NB car, so running the little 289 to Windsor. Great drive from Pete in the wet conditions alongside Darren Jones, getting close to a start now. They're away. Great start from Michelli in the Mustang. Darren D. Pioli just bogging down a little bit at the start, but a good getaway for Michelli.
Certainly going to be interesting to see if the Camaro can just rattle its way up the gearbox to get up to turn one. No, Michelli holds it off, pulls out Di Pioli and goes right round. Wow, what a manoeuvre on the extreme drivers left into turn one.
Great drive from the West Australian. Just nipped up the inside. This shows you how well that car is braking and handling, and then obviously steered with great aplomb by Aldo. So it's De Paoli leading from Michelli, Beard third, Talbot fourth. Good start too from Jeff Mundy, up to fifth in his 68 model, number 68 Chev Camaro.
Great looking bunch of cars here, the Cortinas that were amongst the front of the field yesterday as the conditions started to dry slightly yesterday. They just started to move back, edge their way back through the field, and in these dry conditions today, I would suggest this group will drive off into the distance before too long. Baird, who had a absolute brainer of a start in the SS Camaro yesterday, just holds station for the time being. There's Trevor Talbot. This guy needs very little introduction to Victorian motorsport. He's driven just about every sort of Group N, NC, NB car that there possibly can be, and always does it very, very well. Have a look at Michelli now. He's getting a bit desperate. Goes a big understeer out over the ripple strip there as well. Mundy in the mix. There's Pete Muhlman in the 43. The menacing black car right out over the ripple strips there. Another one of the Mustangs, and the first of our minis coming sliding through, and that'll be Hill. And we're talking just outside the top 10.
Andrew Beard, the silver Camaro, looking to put a move on Michelli in that battle for second place. And he in turn has Talbot in the yellow machine, number 76, right on his tail. We'll keep an eye too on Ian Muirt, the Queenslander in the fastback Mustang, number 155. He also was finding the wet conditions yesterday a little bit difficult, but really in the zone now, and actually went past Jeff Mundy up into fifth place on that lap, Darren.
You'll find it very interesting next weekend here. There's a race meeting as well where there'll be Mustangs and Camaros chasing each other around. Not quite like these genuine articles, but it's going to be interesting in 12 months' time. Where would you slot a Supra?
Well, it'll be
nowhere in this race.
Not in this one, thank you very much.
Not in this one, but certainly the Mustangs and Camaros battling it out in historic touring cars, as they have done for 5 decades and more now. But these guys, wow, have a look at this. Michelli being absolutely monstered. Baird being pushed wide. Michelli is not going to open the door. That's not how Michael goes racing. He'll, in fact, ease the door closed just a little bit on these two Camaros.
Talbot very wide now. He's lost a little bit of position there. And in fact, we've had De Paoli there drop back from our race lead. So something has happened out of our view there to our former race leader, Aldo De Paoli. Perhaps ran wide there, but he's quickly back into second place. Michelli, and a touch from Andrew Beard has actually come into contact with the rear quarter panel, the door in fact of the Ian Muirt machine. So it's quite a bit of a dent there on the side of the Ian Muirt Mustang after that contact from Andrew Beard in the Camaro.
Yeah, that's not ideal. The officials will have their eye on that number 55. Yeah, that's got kind of a dent in it, hasn't it? And he's actually wobbling and trying to get that door catch to get and again. That
car is left-hand drive, and of course it had to be on the passenger side, didn't it? So Ian Muirt is going to have his hands full.
Let's see see that car. I'm pretty sure the door has re-caught. No, it doesn't look like it has. So this is going to grab the attention of the tower. That is for sure. Down into Dandenong Road now, as Baird has just gone back a couple of spots in this tussle. But Muirt with substantial dint in that door. Just watching in the back of shot, there's Pete Muhlman in the pony-style coupe, rather than the fastback of these two Boss Mustangs that are the faster ones in this race.
So Michelli continues to lead from De Paoli. Ian Muirt for how much longer, though, is in third place in the number 155 Fastback Mustang. Then it's Trevor Talbot and Beard a few lengths back. Now DePaoli looking for an outside run on our race leader, Michael Michelli. And DePaoli sweeps around the outside of Michelli into the race lead. Mewett in third is not giving up. He's got Talbot right behind him, so he can throw a blanket over these first 4 cars, Darren.
I tell you what, on the left-hand corners, Mewett's car gets extra wide, doesn't it? You're not going to be able to sneak past. That is for sure holding that out there, and he is trying desperately to get that door catch to take there, but Talbot draws it right alongside. Maybe Talbot can give it just a little bit of a nudge on the way through, a bit of a dooring as he goes on by up the straight.
Bit of short track oval stuff, yes. Perhaps Ian will be actually looking for instead of looking to avoid, as DePaoli continues to lead in the 69 model Chev Camaro from Michelli, just about to round up the Citroen of Michael Stupka.
Meatball flag out, can't see the number of it, but I think we don't need to have too much of a guess on that. Michael Stupka in that Citroen, a guy that brings a interesting racing car to the racetrack every single time without fail, as we come up onto one of the minis there as well, and we're just seeing this Mustang come into the lane. Let's hope someone's got some tape to take that up.
Ian Mewett unfortunately coming into the pits, who's showing great pace there, so really fortunate to have that damage inflicted upon his Mustang and coming pits. Of course, brings back memories of the late great John Harvey here at Sandown 500 those years ago, where he had a swinging door in his Commodore.
Certainly did, and we're down into turn 2 and 3 now. Michael Michelli just eased back into the lead of this race. Aldo Pioli, ever spectacular Western Australian, and we know of a couple of them in historic touring cars. His good mate Paul Stubber as well. And if you sort of squinted, the Trevor Talbot car could look a little bit like Stubber's Camaro as well, couldn't it?
Yellow and black, of course. Slightly earlier model. That's a 68 shape compared to the Stubber and DePaoli machines, which are 69 models. Exactly the same under the skin, just basically a sheet metal update that Chev's pony car received in 69.
I like the urgency on the blue flag and the flaggy there as it's just frantically. You got to be heads up in the Cortina. You got a couple of quick cars coming through. Great to see one of the Jags also out there just in front of this group.
That's Bill Hemming, of course, the man that brought Elfin back to life, if you like. He, of course, runs that beautiful MR8 Formula 5000. Bill Hemming recently taking ownership of that Mark I Jaguar just only a few weeks ago. So great to see another addition, another rank to another mark to the ranks of historic touring cars. There's Phil Barrow in the FJ Holden there. He's trying to latch onto the back of the Cortina of John Harrison. Talbot now right with Aldo DePaoli. So where has Michelli gone? Michelli has got back in front of DePaoli. So again, a change of the race lead, and I'm thinking perhaps some of the lapped cars perhaps may have facilitated that, because John Clark and the Mustang here is right in front of that battle of second place of DePaoli and Talbot.
Gee, John Clark making a little bit of a nuisance of himself there, holding the inside running on both those corners as the two Camaros trying to get through. You could argue that that was a little bit of a FOMO co-team effort going on there.
Good to see it. Les Walmsley has the hand out the window, letting the fast guys through.
Yes, absolutely. So they continue on through here. There's only a couple of minutes left in this one. As always, great battles raging in historic touring cars right through the field. Just getting a good look at a couple of these Cortinas. They're getting the blue flags frantically waved. I tell you what, the right or left arm, whichever one they're using of the flag is on the blue flags in this one. They've been busy, haven't they?
They certainly have. Talbot has a spin coming onto the front straight. He's also showing some battle damage from that race. So Trevor Talbot is stationary. The final corner coming onto the front straight here at Sandown, and has thrown away, unfortunately, a very good result. Was challenging for second place, but his race looks like he's going no further. So Michael Michelli now a very handy break on our second place man, the car on screen at the moment, DePaoli in the Camaro.
Daniel Van Stockram in the Mustang has come to the lane, as well as Burns and Walmsley. So a couple of retirees in this one. That'll put them to the back of the grid, so that won't help the progress of Daniel Van Stockram. He already started from down in 30th position and probably will start from there again in this one. Here's a bit of a replay on the Equity One screens. There's that coming together in a straight line with Mewett and
Andrew Beard.
Yeah.
So a bit of a strange incident that in a straight line on the front straight. So perhaps Andrew didn't know exactly where Mewett was and has gone to go around Talbot and cannoned into the side of the Mustang of Mewett.
There's Trevor Talbot looping his Camaro.
The Equity One replay showing the number 76 machine going no further.
Let's hope that he's got that up and running again now, because he's definitely dropping down the timesheets. We're not seeing him going into the lane. Normally we'll see on the timesheet his name lit up, but he's certainly gone right back down to 17th. So that's your inevitable hero to zero type of routine there. That's really, really sad for him. Mewett hasn't returned from the pit lane after coming in with that door open. But Michael Michelli is well and truly in the lead. The officials getting ready to deliver the last lap board to Michael Michelli, and in fact he's got the biggest lead that anyone's had in this one over Pioli at the moment with a 4.8 second lead.
Yeah, fastest lap as well for Michael Michelli, a 1:22.7055. So a little bit quicker than De Paoli, a 1:22.9. So great speed from the number 69 Boss Mustang, the true Boss, the 302 under the bonnet. Absolutely beautiful machine. Never tired of looking at the shape of a 69 fastback, Darren.
It is absolutely poised for a great result, isn't it? The car's doing everything just right for Michael Michelli, and he's been doing this for a long time, so he knows exactly what he needs to do to bring this car to a terrific result, as the last lap board just gets thrown out as he goes past the line there, and then it'll be Aldo Pioli who is in second place, and we've got a decent old gap back to Andrew Baird in the Camaro.
Yeah, former state champion here in Victoria in the HQ six-cylinder class many years ago. Has run a couple of different Group N historic touring cars over the years. Initially a first-generation Mustang, and then an XW Falcon, of all things. Ran that for a couple of seasons, was very quick. And then returned to the Mustang fold a few years ago with his beautiful 69 fastback.
It's actually noticeable the lack of the GTHOs in historic touring cars at the moment. Is that just an overall value of the cars that they're not running?
Well, particularly Australian cars, the values have just skyrocketed. In fact, road cars are worth more than some of these race cars these days. It's just we've seen the price of hard tops, the Falcon hard tops, the Monaros. The prices have just gone mental. Even more so after local manufacturing finish for some reason. There's been a real spike in the price of Aussie muscle cars, and that could be a little bit of the reason why we're not seeing as many.
Yes, certainly the GTHO changed the game internationally as far as supercars were concerned, and we have got a race winner. 9 laps completed, and our leader hits the line. Michael Michelli takes the victory.
De Paolo into second place in the Camaro. Big gap now back to our third place man, and Pete Muhlman, unfortunately, it looks like he's collected the fence. Pete was right up there in 6th place in the little NB class Mustang, and he's at a shocking last lap, and there's been some pretty serious contact. The front of that Ford Mustang, Darren.
Yeah, that's a shame. This is one of the most magnificent Mustangs, and he drives it ever so hard as well. He's just trying to get the thing back and going and bring it to the line. Not too sure. Couldn't really pick any landmarks to work out whereabouts that has occurred, but certainly gone off onto the grass and snotted the wall. That's a very big blood nose.
Very wet grass, of course. Once you get off the racing surface here today, you are history, really, unfortunate, with that massive amount of rain we had virtually all day. So it is absolutely sodden offline here at Sandown. So unfortunately, Pete has journeyed to the grass and then journeyed to the fence.
Yeah, that's a real shame. He's a ripping bloke, and like I said, he comes to the racetrack for all the right reasons, and he loves to go racing, whether it's here as part of Historic Sandown or the Festival of Speed or the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships. He's gone straight on there, hasn't he? Yeah, that's...
Where is that?
I think that might be coming around turn 12, actually. But there's Michael Michelli. He is just bringing his car back around after taking a sweet victory. Interesting enough, it's a switch around from the yesterday afternoon's race with Aldo Pioli coming into P2 and Michelli taking the W.
So, one each now. So the decider will be this afternoon at around 4:50 p.m. So one each so far for De Paoli and Michelli. Should point out too, a great drive from a relative newcomer to the category, Scott Pearce, in his bright green Mustang number 21. Finished fourth and set the fastest lap on the last lap of the race, a 1:22.56. So that's amazing pace from a newcomer, Darren.
Absolutely. He's just watching Michelli come past turn 12. No, that wasn't turn 12 where Pete Muehlman went off, because there was some quite a bit of wheel track going across the grass. So we'll try and find out where that actually was on the track that saw Muehlman come through. We think it might be at turn 4, maybe down there. Yeah, okay. That's a little bit of local knowledge being handed through to us as the cars stream off the track. Darren Knight, thank you very much again for all of your great information with these amazing race cars, the historic touring cars.
Thank you, Darren, and don't forget, we'll see some of these cars back out again at around 1:25 this afternoon for the 100-year Ford Australia anniversary race, which will be an all-Ford race, as you would expect. So we'll see quite a few of these Group N historic touring cars out there, as well as Terry Lawler's Shelby, his beautiful GT350, Chris Jackson in the Pantera, and Ian Ross in his genuine Group C XD Falcon. So that will be the 100-year Ford Australia anniversary race, round 125, and then of course the final race for the Just Cars historic touring cars will be this afternoon at around 4:50.
A fantastic addition to the 33rd running of Historic Sandown here this weekend. A big thanks to Equity One, the Penrite Oils, Cool Drive for all of their support, and Shannon's Insurance. But a fantastic addition to this year's Historic Sandown is the Ford 100-year commemoration race, as those cars head out onto the track now. And it is certainly something, if you are a lover of the blue oval, that this race will represent everything that you hold dear to your motorsporting delight. As the cars parade around on their warm-up lap, Les Walmsley is the 99 Cortina on pole position. Michael Michelli is leading the field around at the moment in the number 69. In his boss Mustang. Daniel Van Stockram is also on this grid, as we look for John Harrison there as well. David Ramsey. It looks like a couple of these guys haven't made it out onto the grid. Darren Jones in the number 5 as well, making their way around. And a couple of cars that we expected to be out there haven't made their way onto the grid, as Michael Michelli is the car leading them up there. So there is some gaps starting to form, and that is in fact the car on pole position, which was Les Walmsley in the Cortina number 99, hasn't taken his spot on the grid, and cars just making their way in. There's the 89 coming through. That's John Harrison, who'll be taking up position number 4. Back to Terry Lawler in the Shelby GT 350 there. The 72 there as well of Chris Jackson, taking the steering from Ross in this Ford Tribute race as they make their way onto the grid. Michael Michelli, a little bit of mucking around there as well. Chris Jackson makes his way in, and the car's starting to position themselves on the grid. And we've certainly got that P1, the pole position of Les Walmsley in the 99 Cortina, not taking up that spot on the grid. Darren Knight has obviously been out in the Ford paddock and having a good sniff around and puffing and huffing and puffing the big run to the commentary booth. Daz, I'll let you catch your breath there, but certainly...
Catch my breath or breast?
Breast. You can catch that too.
We're running ahead of schedule, and of course I don't plan anything, so did the old unfit blokes jog up to the commentary box. Yeah, a couple of missing, unfortunately, after that last Group N race. Ian Mewt had damage to his door in the Mustang, so he won't be out there. Les Walmsley's been having electrical issues with his Cortina. nevertheless, still a great gaggle of Fords for this 100-year Ford Australia anniversary.
This has got to be a pretty special race for you, Darren. You're a marked blue oval man for a long way ago.
Oh, I'm completely unbiased in commentary. You know that, Darren.
You are. I know you are, but you do like the blue oval product.
Look at Scott Pearce in that bright grabber green Ford Mustang Fastback. The number 21 machine going side by side with a similar machine of Michael Michelli, who just won the last race moments ago for Group N Historic touring cars. So Pearce into second behind Michelli. Terry Lawler up into third already in the Shelby GT350 with Chris Jackson, the Pantera, right behind him.
Great to see that. And there is Ian Ross in the Group C Falcon, the ex-Emery Graham Treasure Bathurst car, and Ian Ross pedals that very, very hard indeed. He's charging up onto a Cortina there as well. So got a good battle for the Cortina cars out there as well, just in I guess a bit of a class battle of their own, and going side by side, in fact, just drawing away from Ian Ross's Falcon. That gives you an idea of the sort of performance that is available in that Cortina. That's Kim Stern.
Kim Stern, the little number 58. That's a twin cam powered Ford Cortina, so Lotus Cortina for Stern in the 58. Meanwhile, at the front, it's 302 Boss powered power for Michelli, 351 Windsor power for Scott Pearce, the man in second place, and 289 Windsor power for the man in third place now, Terry Lawler in the Shelby.
Sadly, David Ramsey not making his way out there in the XA, but we've certainly got plenty of great cars. Bill Trengove not out there, Mike George as well, so missing quite a few of cars. Was going to be a good field of 22, has ended up being exactly that. So Mike George is out there, and Browning has made the way out as well. Simon Browning in the number 57 entry, which is a Mark 1 Cortina.
Chris Jackson on screen in the Di Tommaso Pantera, the number 72 machine, a car that has a model that has a great Australian connection, of course, because when Ford US stopped producing the 351 Cleveland, I nearly said Queensland.
You did.
351 Cleveland in 1974. Di Tommaso had to purchase their 351s from Ford Australia, which they did up until the end of Cleveland production here in 1982.
Ian Ross now looking to the inside of Chris Jackson, and these guys share a garage, so they'll want to give each other a decent old air gap. But interestingly enough, going to keep an eye on Chris's lap times, because it's Ross that he shares this car with, and Chris just getting the nod for the all Ford race, and Ross has been running it in the Group S race. So he's got to keep it all in one piece, because we've got a regularity, and then the final Group S race for the weekend starts off our afternoon of racing. In fact, this is starting off our afternoon of racing, but it is a commemorative race like the TT was for the trophy race yesterday.
Yeah, 100 years since Ford Australia started producing their own cars here, 1925 down at Geelong. Up until then, Ford basically imported chassis from Ford Canada, and they're all sent out to a bit of a mismatch of local bodybuilders. The T model, of course, fantastic machine, put Ford on the map here in Australia, sold 140,000 T models up until the start of production here.
Well, it actually started mass production of automotive vehicles, didn't it? That was what the Model T did.
Perfected it. Yeah. Perfected. I think Oldsmobile might have been in front of Old Henry.
They did it on a much larger mass scale.
Terry Lawler now up into second place in his Shelby GT350, right behind our race leader, Michael Michelli.
Tell us a little bit about the Shelby GT350, Daz.
When the Mustang was released, it was very popular, of course, but had a bit of a reputation as being perhaps a hairdresser's car, if we can be sexist and say that, a bit of a show pony. So Ford really wanted to toughen up the image of the Mustang, so they approached Carroll Shelby to get some performance out of its Mustang. Initially, Carroll said not really interested. It's a bit of a hairdresser's car, if I can use that term again. But they convinced him, and then Ford wanted to race the car in sports cars. So Shelby turned it into the GT350, took out the rear seats, so it would qualify as a sports car in B Production Sports Cars, the Sports Car Club of America competition. And that's why we're seeing that beautiful fastback on the track today.
Certainly is, and for those that do have lucky enough to have a Shelby GT 350 in their possession, they very much love them, don't they? They are an absolute passion car for a lot of people, and it's not taking anything away from any one of the cars in this field, or in fact right throughout the pit and paddock area at this event, but they are kind of a rare piece of kit. And at the moment, we're just seeing I'm going to say two generations, the newer and the older generation of the fastback, if you like, that came out of Ford. Yeah,
the 65 fastback released roughly about a year after the initial notchback machine released to the world at the New York's World's Fair in April 1964.
So at the moment, it is that car of Terry Lawler, the fastest car on track. Last lap around 1:23.0 clocked in that car. Michael Michelli, his best now. He's just gone to a 1:23.4 and Lawler a 1:23.2. So Terry is definitely, for the last two laps, the fastest car on track. And he's actually looking now for the way to get through on Michael Michelli. So he's just giving it a bit of left and right mirrors action, isn't he?
There's no parading going on here. This is definitely up for the fight, this battle for the lead.
It's a nice trophy that they've got on there, and they're all going to be reaching out for it.
Cortina's, meanwhile, doing battle Don Knight, the pushrod Cortina, number 32, trying to keep out the Lotus Cortina of Mike George in 63. That's another car that really put Ford of England on the map, the Lotus Cortina, once Colin Chapman worked his Lotus magic on the humble Cortina.
So tell us what it was there, like you said, the pushrod and then the Lotus Cortina. What was it? Was it handed over to Chapman and said, here you go, make us a nice touring car?
Yeah, Ford basically employed Colin to work his magic with that twin cam head on the Cortina. It was a very successful touring car in the early 60s, and of course one Alan George Moffat made his name with the Lotus Cortina right here at Sandown.
He did, and we've just seen what the performance difference is there in a straight line, as Mike George just pretty much came onto the straight at around about the same speed as Don Knight did, and just eased on by in a straight line. So, as we like to say, a bit of a straight line handling there.
Lawler again looking up the inside of our race leader, Michael Michelli. That Lawler machine has an engine built by Tilley Automotive in Brookvale, New South Wales, and we certainly know that the Tilleys know how to get a bit of horsepower out of a Ford engine. We saw Terry have a great drive at Bathurst a couple of years ago in the combined Group S, bit of a mixed bag of grid of races, actually streeted the field with that Shelby. It really does like the long straights at Bathurst.
Certainly getting up and down the mountain. When you start to introduce the Tilley's name to it and getting results, that does help. Good shots of Don Knight's pushrod Cortina.
Just behind him are the cylinder machines of Stuart Barnes from South Australia. So there's always a great battle between the Cortinas, lots of stirring, lots of ribbing going on to see who can be the first Cortina home. So Stuart Barnes in the number 22 leading Simon Browning, the number 57 Cortina GT, just in front of our race leader Michael Michelli. If you want to join this fun, Simon Browning is selling his number 57 Cortina. If you'd like to come out to the pits and have a chat to Simon, a great way to enter the historic touring car ranks, the Cortina. Wide availability of parts, pretty easy to set up, and of course plenty of people to race against.
Yeah, certainly these things don't actually come on the market all that often. Down there as well, just keeping out of the way there as the car's coming through. Don Knight, he's acknowledging those blue flags that are being waved by the Victorian flag marshalling team. And if you haven't quite got the fazungas to get yourself a Cortina in the shed and go racing, why not join the Victorian flag marshalling team? They are absolutely in the action.
Got the best seat in the house, Darren.
Haven't they ever? We say it a lot, but it is absolutely true. When you lean over the fence and wave your flag and you can clock the mirror of the car coming past you, you are definitely in the action. That is for sure. Car number 69, Michael Michelli, has driven this one just as nicely as he did the previous historic touring car race, which was only one race ago. We had the HQs between this and that, so both these cars were racing in the historic touring cars as well. But at the moment, the Last lap board being prepared at the Crow's Nest for Michael Michelli as he comes storming to the line. Last time round it was only 0.3 of a second. He's opened that gap up quite substantially to 2.2 seconds now. So that is quite a phenomenal last lap for Michael Michelli. 1:24.6, a 1:26.4, so 1.9 seconds just on that last lap.
Yeah, so Jerry Lawler, a couple of wheels on the curve there, so he's dropped back a little bit from our race leader, Michelli. Scott Pearce still holding down third in his Mustang number 21. Ian Ross has got past Chris Jackson in the Pantera, so Ian Ross in the XD, one of the privateer Falcons that we saw quite a few of in the early 80s, the Group C era. It wasn't just Dick Johnson running around, there was quite a few privateers, and Ian racing the Mike Emery machine.
Tight field. This was going to be out over 20 cars, and obviously dry racing today. Everyone's had a little bit of willingness. Unfortunately, Peter Muellerman had a bit of a blood nose when he came back from there. I don't mean Pete himself. I mean he had a bit of front action into the wall with his car. Not sure whether you managed to catch up with any between races.
I haven't been able to catch up with Pete yet, but I definitely saw his crew working on the car. So as I expected, they were fully focused on getting the car back out on the track. So hopefully we'll see him out there for race 3. A great win to Michael Michelli in the 100th anniversary Ford Australia race. Terry Lawler will take second in his Shelby. Big break now, back to our third place man, Scott Pearce in the Mustang, just coming onto the front straight now. So great drive from the P-plater. It's quite amazing to think that he's a P-plater racing a Mustang.
It is, and I've got to say, Scotty, it's not always weekends like this.
No.
But I've got to say, if he's prepared to do that hard work and get it all done, you know, before you get to the race meeting, then yeah, maybe it is. Maybe the weekends do come nicely, but you certainly got to prepare for it. That is for sure. Beautifully
presented car to the Pearce machine, and his fastest lap in that last historic touring car race. So it'll be great to see what he can do in the third race this afternoon. Knight beats home Barnes and Browning in the battle of the Cortinas. Chris Jackson thunders across the line in the Pantera.
Really draws a crowd, the Pantera, doesn't it?
Certainly does. Magnificent machine.
And then it starts up and the crowd doubles, doesn't it?
Yes.
The ground thumps behind that car, and it just really does. And the Jacksons are the right people to have it too, I think.
Particularly Ross, he just loves that car so much. He's been running the car since about 2002, I believe.
He does love it.
He's just about at every historic meeting we go to, the big yellow Pantera. Forward powered, of course. That's just why it's running in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A little boutique manufacturer that came up with nothing short of a supercar with a Ford power plant.
And Ford, of course, in the USA sold the Pantera out of Lincoln Mercury showrooms for about 4 years, so 71 through to 75, and then their relationship with Alejandro Di Tommaso broke down a little bit. He was a little bit fiery, the Argentinian. But so he continued to build the Panteras back in Italy, and finally bowed out in 1992.
Well, that brings to an end an exciting concept here, the Ford 100-year commemoration race. Darren Knight, thank you very much for your time. Michelli, Lawler, Pearce is your podium. Ian Ross in fourth, Chris Jackson in fifth. A great initiative by the VHRR.
And happy birthday, Ford Australia.
Yeah, exactly.
And happy birthday to Penrite, of course.
Well, yeah.
Sharing I think officially Penrite is next year, but it doesn't matter. We're going to say happy 100th birthday to two great Australian companies, Ford Australia and Penrite.
Exactly. It's just a shame that Penrite's the only one manufacturing still here.
Yes.
They do a terrific job of it. We're going to take a quick break because we're about to go regularity racing or regularity trialling in just a couple of moments. We'll be back after this. I've said it a few times already this weekend, the VHRR. They touted this weekend as the return of the Thunder. Phil And Simon have just done it in the MGs, but I tell you what, there's more than a handful of thundering historic touring cars that are making their way out on the track right now as Darren Knight gets comfortable for the next about 15 minutes or so of our lives. Daz, the historic touring cars out on track. We did have just a little bit of rain blow over the track before, so let's hope that stays away for these guys.
G'day Daz, g'day everyone. Yeah, a little bit of misting rain, nothing too heavy. Don Knight is hoping he doesn't have to turn the wipers on because his alternator is stuffed and it may flatten the battery. So it's held off though. It's damp or not overcast, a little bit dark, but no rain. Complete contrast to yesterday. Very heavy rain all day. One of the wettest race meetings I've been to in quite some time, but thankfully that's pretty much held off today, and we've seen some great action. A little bit of panel damage this morning, the first race unfortunately, but there's some great racing that inadvertent damage. We saw, of course, Ian Mewett had to come into the pits with that door after it sustained damage. A bit of a mix-up there with Andrew Beard, Trevor Talbot. They all came together, rubbed panels, unfortunately. Under brakes, everyone got a little bit squirrely down there at turn one. Not going to apportion any blame on anyone. That's not my role. But it's good to see them all taking the start. Unfortunately, we won't see Ben Wilkinson in his very quick Ford Mustang. His car was stuck in third gear in the race this morning. Ben took out the overall victory here last year, so sad to see him on the trailer, but hopefully we'll see him back on the track soon. Also, Pete Muhlman, you were about to talk about Darren.
Yeah, I was just going to say it was wise of him to get the car moving and get it across the line, because it means he doesn't start from the rear of the grid. He's starting out of, after he did have a run into the wall, he's starting out of ninth, so presence of mind, check the gauges, make sure you're not making a mess of the track. He did that. The front of the car doesn't look good, and sadly for Pete, it stands out because the car normally looks so good, doesn't
Pristine.
it? When it's got a bit of a punch in the nose, it looks awkward and looks out of order.
We're talking about the all-black number 43 Ford Mustang, 64 shape Mustang, just coming into screen now. Smoked the wall, was squeezed up there at turn, heading down the hill, was squeezed off onto the grass, very wet grass. Unfortunately, rotated the car, smoked the wall. So as Pete calls it, it's now the Mad Max edition. Max Rockatansky, when he ran up the back of that dirty Monaro and knocked the nose cone off the XA hardtop. Pete has a similar looking shape to his Mustang at the moment.
Gee, he's only got a fortnight to get it ready. He was keen for Isle of Magic too to get down there for the historic touring cars. So if you enjoy them here, you've only got 2 weeks to wait to get down to Phillip Island and see them all again. What a sight.
And this is the decider. It's one race win apiece for the two guys on the front row of the grid. Aldo De Paul in the Camaro, Michael Michelli in the Ford Mustang. So the big decider, Scott Pearce, what a drive into fourth place in that bright green Mustang, number 21, still on the P plates, still on the learning journey, but he's pretty quick at the moment. Set fastest lap in the race this morning, and he'll start alongside Andrew Beard on the second row of the grid.
What about that sixth row of the grid there? It goes from V8s to 4 cylinders, front wheel drive and rear drive. A Datsun and a Mini. It changes pretty quickly.
David Brown and Richard Hill, here we go. The final race for the historic touring cars this weekend. Pretty even start, a good start from Beard. He made a great start yesterday in the wet. And Beard is up on the inside of Aldo De Paoli as they head down to turn one for the first time. Beard, the lead already, so a great start. Michelli, not a great start.
Couple of the guys coming rear of the grid. I'm not too sure. I think it was Daniel Van Stockeren in the
Mustang.
Yellow and black Mustang. Yeah, absolutely brained them off the start, charging up through the field there. There's also the yellow Camaro in there. That was
Trevor Talbot.
Dust. Yep, so that's the ones where I was looking at. Trevor Talbot certainly a front runner. David Brown getting all mixed up.
Yep, onto the grass, but back onto the circuit. So Ian Mewett, Trevor Talbot, Daniel Van Stockeren all coming through from the rear of the grid. So some heavy hitters coming through the field. Not a great start for Michelli. He won't be happy with that. He's dropped back all the way behind the Monaro of David Tassari. So great to see David out there for the first time this weekend. Keep an eye on that Monaro as we look at the battle for the lead at the moment. It's Beard leading from De Paoli, so two 69 model Chevy Camaros heading the field at the moment. Got a bit of a break. It's a Camaro 1, 2, 3, in fact, because Grant Mundy has had a great start. He's up into third place in his 68 model Chev Camaro. Joe Collegia, also a good start too, and his Mustang. Tassari now already up into 4th place. As I mentioned, a very quick Holden. We've got a meatball flag, the dreaded meatball, unfortunately, which is for a mechanical defect for someone. Can't pick up the number yet. Can't see anything hanging off a car.
No, but maybe that smoke that I saw off the line, maybe it wasn't wheel spin, maybe it was someone with some sort of engine issue. But this Monaro is up and running hard now, isn't it?
David Tassari, the number 8 HQ Monaro, former race winner in the HQ 6-cylinder class, joined the Group N Historic Touring Car ranks a few years ago and shares the driving with brother Mark, and they're both as quick as each other. A very quick motor car, and he's right on the tail of Jeff Mundy. Yellow flags out on the back straight. So hopefully there's not too much damage there. If someone has gone off at the top end of the circuit, haven't picked up who that is yet. On screen now, this is the battle for 3rd. Jeff Mundy, safety car is coming. So out of our view there, it looks like somebody has gone off and safety car will be dispatched.
That's a real shame. These guys have been racing very, very well all weekend. We'll try and find out what has occurred to have the safety car out. Normally something fairly drastic, but the field just easing up now as the safety car is deployed. And can't really see any service vehicles making their way around on the track just yet. But
well, we did see that yellow flag on the back straight. So Dandenong Road corner, that swallowed up plenty of competitors over the years. So perhaps somebody is stuck up there.
Yeah, that's entirely. Bob, there it is. It's the 55.
Ian Muir in the Mustang.
He had damage in his door and was meatballed in the last race because the door was flung open. Now he's parked it, and that, you're right, that is bogged at the top of the hill essentially on the run down to Dandenong Road.
So thankfully it doesn't look like he's come into contact with anyone, so with anything. So it looks like maybe he's squeezed and he's ended up on that very wet grass, and that 69 Mustang looks like it's bogged up to the axles, Darren.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's very, very damp off on the grass right around this facility. And if you're going to put a race car with hot slicks and they
pretty
get
heavy.
quenched.
Yep, pretty heavy race car too. The big 69 fastback Mustang, one of the heaviest Mustangs of all. In fact, probably the 72 model is slightly heavier, but you're looking around 15 to 1600 kilo of forward on that very wet grass.
Yeah, and those hot race tyres hit that as well, and they just glaze over, and you just run. Even though they do have a vague line of tread through them, you just run out of it because they're quenched, and all the temperature goes out of them very, very quickly indeed. Sadly, we have got the Racer Industries safety car out there on track, and a big shout out to all the people at Cool Drive and Racer Industries for providing that safety car. We never want to see it, but if we do see it, we want to see one that looks the part, don't we?
Definitely, yeah. Well done, Racer Industries, and well done to all the flaggies, and a big shout out to Emily Snedden, the daughter of former Group N Torana racer Peter Snedden. She is flagging out on the back straight. So as Roger Churnside said to Peter, not another Snedden. So great to have second generation racer up there, Emily Snedden up there doing her part, keeping motor racing in the family, flagging. And folks, it's the best way to see the motor racing. Even better, they've got a better view than the commentators. The flaggies, they're right on the...
Except at Phillip Island.
Yes.
That's the exception. Phillip
right.
Island, you're up there with God. You're overlording the entire property. Have a look at this, the Recovernator. And aren't they doing a terrific job? That Jeep with the big stickers across the back. Jeff Rowley, I think he's the tow chief here this weekend.
Gee, that's a beast of a tow vehicle.
Isn't it? The Recovernator. I love that. That's really cool. And it's done in the Jeep sort of font there as well. So it brings the number 55 out there, and we get a nice quick recovery, which in recent times hasn't been a thing getting the car just dragged back out. There's not a lot left in this race, so this is going to look a little bit like a club sprint, isn't it? It's going to get pretty feisty.
Well, I don't mind that. If we get one clear green lap of racing, that'll do me, because fortunately we had a great race at the Bend a couple of weeks ago. Was ended up under the safety car. Just needed another 2 minutes to get the car cleared.
So the whole field being banked up there, and we look right down the back there. Michael Stupka in that Citroen. And there's something for everyone, even this Jag here. And, of course, that was a weapon of choice for Bob Jane when he won the Australian Touring Car Championship.
Certainly was. Good to have Bill Hemming joining the category. Of course, the man behind the resurgence of Elfin. He purchased the Mark 1 Jaguar. As you mentioned, Darren, the Mark 1 Jaguar took out the first couple of Australian Touring Car Championships. David McKay was the inaugural champion way back in 1960. Then Bill Pitt did it again in the Jag, and then of course the great Bob Jane, consecutive touring car championships in 63 and 64. So they really were the car to have in the early days of touring car racing in Australia.
And didn't Bob Jane just bring so much to Australian motorsport? He's a much maligned guy, but certainly
put his money where his mouth is.
Absolutely, every time. John Harvey had some great drives in some cars owned by Bob Jane. Many had great drives in great cars because of Bob Jane. He bought some great cars. You know, we had that amazing era of the Thunderdome and Calder and that sort of thing.
The first super speedway to be built outside of the United States. Amazing.
Yeah, and boy, we had some fun doing the Thunderdome. And we're just getting a little bit of a signal that there's some rain starting to appear as well. So that must mean that the HQs can't be too far away, because every time they're the only ones that haven't had a full dry track this weekend. Even late this morning, they were the only ones that got rain at the start of their session. Let's have a look here. We'll see if we can get a look at the safety car and see if the lights have gone out there. But certainly some of the mud that has been dragged back on from the Ian Mewett car, and he's got a long old trip home, hasn't he, coming from Queensland?
Yeah, it's unfortunate to end the meeting that way. The car was going really well this morning. Looks like we might get a restart here.
It does. The green flag is being readied at the Crow's Nest. The
Excellent.
Safety car board being prepared to be withdrawn, and there it is.
Excellent.
Green flag, and away we go. Absolutely charging down to turn one. Ben leading the way, had a great start earlier on today. The whole field streaming across the line, and this is the run. It's a couple of Camaros out in front.
David Tessari into third place in the Monaro, so onto the podium for the first time this weekend. Great to see him finally make it out to the track with issues earlier. So the Holden now up into third place. Jeff Mundy now has his mirror full of the fifth place Mustang of Scott Pearce, the number 21 machine.
I remember fondly when Kent Yulden first came out with the red Monaro. Gee, that was a weapon of a car, and he did such great things with that car over not a long time. It was only a couple of seasons that Kent raced that car.
Yeah, RIP Kent, what a driver he was. And that car is back in the stable of Tino Leo, who raced it after Kent. So that car is still around. Here he is, Tessari, right on the tail now of Andrew Beard. Could there be a challenge for second place? Aldo De Paoli has got into the lead on that lap. So De Paoli looking to make it 2 wins out of 3 races this weekend. Looking to see if we're going to get a checkered flag this time out.
I think we're going to get a last lap board, actually, because they got across the line with about 5 seconds to go. Yeah, last lap board being presented.
Excellent.
So this will give an extra opportunity for the protagonists to prove their worth. And on debut in that green Mustang, Pearce entry draws alongside, strings on by. He wants a podium out of it, doesn't he?
Yep. Into fourth place goes Pearce, so he's got some work to do to get onto the tail of David Tessari, as De Paoli not hanging around to find out what's going on this last lap. Handy lead now over our second place man, Andrew Beard, who's been kept busy with David Tessari. So Camaro versus Monaro, both running the 350 Chev under the bonnet. Monaro maybe slightly heavier than the Camaro, not much difference between them though. Here he is, Tessari, a real hard charger, looking to put the move on the back straight for the final time. Andrew Beard not giving him any space whatsoever, as he's right in front there, putting the Camaro exactly where he needs to as they go down to Dandenong Road S's for the final time. How big are the brakes on the Monaro? Good line there from Beard. Is keeping a very clean line there to not give Tassari a sniff at all in that battle for second place.
Gee, I tell you what, this is quite the turn-up. 3 of the General's products across the podium as the checkered flag is waved. And there's some information being displayed with the checkered flag. No one will pay any attention to whatever that is.
Dal Powley takes the win from Andrew Beard. David Tassari into third place. A great drive from right down the order. Scott Pearce will be fourth. Again in his Mustang after a fourth this morning. Michael Michelli will be fifth. Trevor Talbot right off the back of the grid as well in sixth. Jeff Mundy will be seventh. Joe Collegia, very solid run in his Mustang. He will be eighth. Pete Muhlman in the Max Rokotansky version of the Mustang. He'll be ninth. And Darren Jones will round out the top 10.
Great to see Joe Collegia coming to the line there in the Mustang. He's had a ripping weekend across his Group S and the historic touring cars. And good to see Joe back at the track. And Pete Muhlman got some work to do for a fortnight's time, hasn't he?
He has, yes. Island Magic, couple of weeks. Make sure you head down there for the Improved Production Nationals. Got about 87,000 cars for that event.
138, I think it was.
You're driving me.
Two over 2 litre fields and 1 under 2 litre field.
That's massive, and
Isn't
there'll
it?
also be some Just Cars Historic Touring Car action down there too at Isle of Magic. Just been confirmed last week, in fact. So a great meeting to get to.
Professional audio video equipment in Australia and New Zealand, NPAV, have bought us this racing for the historic touring cars over this weekend. A big shout out to that field. Have a look at these guys. They're all bringing it back together, aren't they? They're all joining hands. I guess that's part of when you only get 2 laps under safety car, everyone is still bunched up.
Yeah, and well done to the recovery team too for removing the EMU Mustang with great haste that allows us to get 2 allowed laps in and finishing this race under the checkered flag, not a safety car.
Yeah, absolutely. Darren Knight, thank you so much again right across this weekend for all of your knowledge and passion as you present the historic touring cars. And as I said, a big shout out to NPAV for their support for this category. Equity won the Victorian Historic Racing Register. Sandown Historics, the 33rd running, and these cars all come back into the paddock as one.
Well done to the VHRR, of course, and to all the flaggies. Historic touring cars, always a pleasure to run here at the home of horsepower, Sandown. So well done to the VHRR, and we'll see you all next year.
Absolutely. That's Darren Knight and the historic touring cars as they return like a parade back to the paddock and pit and paddock area for the trophy presentation for this event. We've still got one more race to go, and some would say we've saved the best for last. The HQs, they've been around for a number of decades, and they are, as their slogan suggests, affordable entertainment and affordable racing. It is a great entertainment, but affordable racing in the HQs. We'll take a quick break as we just enjoy the sights and sounds of the historic touring cars returning to the pit paddock area. Back for the last race of the 33rd running of Historic Sandown in just a moment.